I'm going to start with the director of this last film. Please welcome director Ayelet Becher. Ayelet Becher, the director of Take 3. I figured they're on the run from this one, Ayelet. I'll start with you. Okay. Then also please welcome Hadar Reichman, who is the director of the first film, Keys. And please welcome Miriam Awadallah, who is Development and Partnership Manager for OneVoice movement. Thank you so much for being here. Let's start. I'll go with the order that I introduced. Ayelet, what made you? Why did you make this film? Why did you want to make this film? What did you want to tell with this film?
Well, actually, what made me make this film was just the revelation, this pretty amazing revelation that two Israeli films had looked 30 years apart at the same guy, not knowing. And we just happened to find this out. And then I was really curious to talk to the filmmakers about how they themselves look back at what they have done and about the effectiveness of their tactic. Basically, they were making political movies. And I was really interested to know what they thought. And then I also thought, well, let's see if I can do this again. And initially, I was pretty sure that whomever was there in the Yichya family will not talk to me, because it's really hard these days to talk to Palestinians. And to my surprise, he was really okay with this idea of coming back to the village and being filmed again by me. He was very ill at the time, and actually he did it in his last days, just like his father. So it was really important to him and to the family. And on a personal level, I think this oral history of telling your son, passing along the family story, it was really important to him, and in a way that surpassed the political difficulties and challenges. Yeah.
And how much between the first movie and the second movie, and between take 1 and take 2, and between take 2 and take 3, how far do you think do you think that each one has had a kind of a steady growth of change within Israel, or has the change gotten more dramatic over the years? Has it slowed down?
What kind of change are you talking about?
I mean, it's funny, between the first movie and the second movie, they're in this, I mean, as Ram Levy put it, Ram Levy put it, it was the same thorn in the background. Are the same thorns in the background? Is that connection continuing?
Between us filmmakers and our subjects?
Between the people and that spot of land.
Well, as you can see in the movie, basically you cannot return to the same village for the third time the same way. I mean, even the son understands that his father does not feel the same. But I think in this particular family, it's funny, I asked Adel, how come they chose your dad twice? I mean, of all the Palestinians in Palestine, how come this guy was featured twice? And he said, well, whenever they asked for a good man, everyone recommended my father. And he also said that my father could compromise. And that's why. And for him, living in Ramallah and teaching in Birzeit, it was also kind of a brave thing to say. And also to say, well, you know, we'll give up the cactus and the knife. So to say this kind of compromising statement shows that maybe Adel also was the kind of person who wanted dialogue, who wanted to communicate, and that's why he agreed to be in the film, despite the obvious difficulty for him to again cooperate with Jewish Israeli filmmakers.
I'm going to bring Miriam into this conversation here and ask how your work with OneVoice movement connects to what we saw in this film.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, is this on? Hello? Okay, sorry. Yeah, so with our work with OneVoice, I think it's your film in particular kind of shed light on the human element of the conflict, and that's really what we try to achieve. It's, when you're talking about Israel-Palestine and you're talking about conflict management and resolution in general, it's usually these abstract, amorphous terms and concepts as it relates to refugees and the broader issues and the right of the return, and what does it mean in negotiations? What happens with the refugees in a two-state solution or a one-state solution? And I think what this film does is it brings in that human element and allows these refugees to tell their story and offer their perspectives that are so often overlooked when you're speaking with international policymakers and they're speaking in these broader terms. So it adds that element that's so often missing in the discourse surrounding this conflict, and that's incredibly important to what we try and do in bridging the gap between Israelis and Palestinians. So it's incredibly compelling. I congratulate you on a great film.
And we here at Other Israel really feel that that's the element that these films bring into the picture, as far as, you could read in the newspaper a lot about Palestine and Israel, but when you see these films, you actually see the human stories that go way beyond the headlines. We'll get back to this more, but I wanted to bring in Hadar, who directed the lovely film Keys. It's a very different element of Israeli society, and I'm trying to find the connection between all these three films, apart from them being women filmmakers. By the way, the third film I'll mention, Facing the Wall, who the director is not here for it, she is the first Ethiopian woman director of a fiction film. Wow. And she's working on her first feature film now, which will make her the first Ethiopian woman feature film director in Israel, as far as I know. That is also an important connection here. But Hadar, what inspired you to make this film? What were you trying to bring to light here?
Okay, so it's actually a funny story because I did this film at the end of my second year of studying in the Tel Aviv University, and it's a regular thing to do a bigger film in this in the end of the second year. So I wrote a script, and they said no, it's not a good script. You have 2 weeks to write another one. So then I remember a story actually that a good friend of mine that is studying with me wrote. And I called him and I said, okay, we have 2 weeks to take this story and make a short script out of it. So this is how this movie born, and it's been we worked very hard on this 2 weeks to add things to the characters and to make it more deeply. Yeah, but this is the story how it's born. And
why did you want to tell this story? What was interesting to you about the story?
So when I wrote the story, when I read the story that he wrote, I fell in love with the story. I think it brings not only, I mean, it's talking about Jews and Arabs, but it's in generally how you approach sometimes a stranger, and this things that we have in mind when we are see another people from another culture, and that we cannot stop thinking about, we cannot not bring into our behavior. So I think it's important to touch those subjects.
And the reactions, let's talk about both of these films. The reactions in Israel, these are films that have criticism about Israeli society. What have been the reactions?
Well, for me, actually, I get all of the rainbow. I had some more religion, Jewish, that said that this is just one point of view of this, and
it is.
Yeah. Although we did try to work about the character that they're not bad, they're not mean. I don't think even the woman in the window, she's not mean. She's coming from a really background story. So, but
I noticed a subtle moment. Ayelet, I want you to answer that question as well. But I noticed a subtle moment in the film where the religious man is walking down the street and a group of Arab children run by, and he jumps to the side in fear.
This actually wasn't planned. Yeah, it just happened.
The actor was really afraid.
Yeah, no, it's happened the first time, and then we said, it's amazing, and let's do it. And my friend took all the kids in the neighborhood, run again. And so it was perfect.
And would you say, as far as your character, the character of the of this religious man having a fear of Arab children running on Shabbat, goes in line with the character you were trying to show throughout? Is this is this something that stands out in his character, or is it kind of like a more character development for him?
Yeah, no, I think it's good for the character. Of course, it's a little bit how I say it, exaggerating. But it's exactly what I talk about, like when you have something on mind and about stranger, and then you see something that you don't know, or you don't familiar about, so you're automatically fear, and you don't, a lot of times you don't welcome it, or you don't try to approach it differently.
Miriam, sorry, yeah. I actually had a question for Miriam. Miriam, the film Keys and your work, where do you think you see relatable to that? Let's.
No, I think it's I'm having microphone difficulty. In terms of Keys, yeah, actually, when I was watching it, it really struck me because the work that we try to do is to create the conditions necessary for Israeli-Palestinian peace and the two-state solution. And so often the element that's missing, like I mentioned before, is that human interaction. It's actually acknowledging that this other person that you've been told is your enemy actually lives next door to you. They live in your community. They are your community members. So, as it relates to our work, it's preparing and it's mobilizing Israelis and Palestinians to then acknowledge that and then prepare them for a future in which they will live alongside each other with secure Israel and an independent Palestine.
Beautiful connection. Ayelet, the reactions to your film in Israel, is this... It's quite a controversial film. I'd say the first two were controversial, and now this third one is just opening it up again. What have been the reactions?
Well, I think just to preview this by speaking a minute about what our documentary cinema has gone through in relation to Other Israel. So 10 years ago, on the first Other Israel Festival, I had a feature film following two Palestinian couples who had trouble living together legally in Israel because of its law of citizenship. And at the time, it fit into a group of political films documenting Palestinian strife and imagining that we would this way raise awareness in the Israeli public to reach a peaceful solution. And as you all know, that didn't happen. So there's a shift in my view, in the Israeli documentary filmmaking, and we are looking more, I think, at ourselves. I mean, even Ranan Alexandrovich's film in 2000, The Inner Tour, which looks at Palestinians, was his last of this kind. And his future work, his more recent films, one of them, The Law in These Parts, looks at how Israeli lawmakers have been dealing with the occupation. So I think our cinema has changed, and its reception has changed. If you're asking whether it's easy in today's Israel to have a film which has the word Nakba in it, or talk about the right of return, even if it's a 10-year-old saying that, no, it's not easy. This was commissioned by Zochrot, which is this NGO. And actually, when it was first screened in the Tel Aviv Cinematheque, our Minister of Culture, former IDF spokesman Miri Regev, sent people from her ministry because she thought maybe the Cinematheque should not be funded if it's showing this kind of films. And her people said this film was fine. Actually, as you can see, it's quite a nostalgic film. I mean, there is no call for action in that movie. So the reactions were pretty, and also in Haifa, the Haifa Cinematheque refused to screen these films as part of their program, but they were not able to not let out the space. So they called it a private screening, and there was a demonstration when we came, which I thought was lovely, and I invited the demonstrators to come in and see the movie, and they didn't.
It's unfortunate, yes. It's a good move, though. It's a nice way to fill some seats and actually reach audiences that need to see these films.
We're full, but not of these kind of people, so.
I would love to take some questions from the audience. We'll start down here.
I was just wondering, the Orthodox man, when he was walking, he gave something to the girl. Was that money?
No, it was candy.
It was candy. Okay.
Yeah.
Candy, for those who didn't hear. Why candy? Why did he give her candy?
We thought like he just came out from the synagogue and with the candy that you throw on bar mitzvah. So we thought, okay, it's it's something to give to the character.
Hi, this is Carol Zaber. I'm actually going to make a comment to go along with what Ayelet had to say. The documentaries coming out of Israel now and 10 years ago are really strikingly different. I saw Ranan Alexandrovich's film, The Inner Tour, when it came out, and it's a group of Palestinians living in the West Bank who go touring in Israel like tourists. They're on a tourist bus, etc. And there was a scene, they go to a kibbutz in the north, and the person who is in charge of this museum is talking about Choma Migdal. What's that in English? A watchtower and a wall.
A wall.
So he's really proud of how these early Zionists went and they took various lands and they put down a watchtower and a wall and they established kibbutzim. And he's really proud of it and he's naming these things. And these Palestinians are looking at each other and saying, why in God's name is he telling us this? And it was so innocent, though. I thought, this is truly amazing. If you think of now in 2016, you can't imagine anything like this happening.
Ayelet, do you want to add to that?
No, I just said, that's right.
Anything can happen in the Middle East, but don't be too negative.
Anything can happen anywhere these days, it seems, yes. We have a question here.
Yeah, is this on? This is about your film. Does anybody react in Israel saying, hey, this is what it was like for us in Europe? This is how people looked at Jews. As second-class citizens, don't touch them, they're dangerous. Do you get that kind of reaction at all?
Actually, personally, no. Nobody came to me to say something like that, but I'm sure people think about it.
Thank you so much for the films. I wanted to ask Ayelet a question. So Ranan Alexandrovich talks about naivete, right, that allowed him to kind of go and just sort of record the story. So I'm sure that you thought about that as well. So can you talk about that and your position as a filmmaker vis-a-vis your interviewees in this film?
Thank you for the question. I think our subject matters in our movies evolved, but also the language evolved. And I think what Ranan is talking about is that this idea of observation, for him, is no longer valid. I mean, observational films are still being made, but the question needs to be asked, who's observing whom and why? And basically, he says that the deal is void, And if you look at the greater picture of Israeli documentaries, there are very few, if any, documentaries now observing the Palestinians as a political and cinematic tactic. And actually, I really appreciate Raanan. Actually, I admire him. And when I had to go and film this third scene, I thought, well, Raanan said you don't do that anymore. What am I going to do? And you notice that Adel is talking straight to me in English. And that's because when I started out, I thought, well, let's do it differently. Let's have him talk to me. And he talked to me, and after that, I just did the same thing that Ram and Raanan had done so beautifully. And I just looked at him because, again, the scene just happened by itself. And I thought to myself, well, Raanan can have his own opinion, but I still believe in observational film as long as it has some reflection in it. I mean, I couldn't have done this third scene on its own. It had to come after the discussion, in a way, about this theoretical idea of at least thinking about it.
Hi, I'm an underwriter with the San Diego Jewish Film Festival, which has been ongoing for about 26 years. And we have very few films like this, very, very few. I'm wondering, have you had invitations to present your films at other film festivals, or is it primarily here at this one?
Actually, this is today I guess, world premiere. It's been shown in Jerusalem, but with this kind of complex content, I mean, really it has to be a very special audience like you, who are interested in these kind of intricate ideas and in this short format. So the answer is not yet. I'm showing it here first. And
for me, for the world, it's actually also the premiere. I did, with this film was, we have in Israel the Film Bus Project, I don't know if you heard about, which is a bus going through all the rural places in Israel, showing students' film actually to people that don't have so much approach to cinemas, like in Tel Aviv. But no in the world, not yet.
Hi. I love the three movies very much, and I'm glad to see young ladies representing them.
Applaud, please applaud.
Yeah. The movie Keys, I found many, many emotions there, and one of the things that kind of I look at it like the young generation, the young kids. In one movie, you have this young boy that decided he's going to come back to take his father's land. The other one is the young lady I thought she's angry at her father that he ran away with the car. So we have here two different ways of looking at the young generation. And I was kind of trying to figure out why the father in the car, I'm sorry.
We told you to turn your phones off.
Sorry, he shut the window. Did he want to keep the argument and the screaming to protect his sister, or he was doing it in order to keep privacy with her, to communicate with her while all this was going on? I could not figure out why did he shut.
We got the question. Let's give time to answer.
Yeah, so actually it's a good question. And yeah, it's totally because he wants to protect his sister. It's the first thing he said. Because all this act was, okay, I'm going to protect the sister. She's not going to live this reality that I'm living. She's not going to see that. But then they pushed him into the situation where he's acting like, okay, now she lives this reality that I am. and it's what make him go. It's like impulse. Yeah.
I'm afraid we're short for time because we have another event starting in here very soon. That's a sold-out event. Another big round of applause for all three of the panelists. Thank you so much for being here and for those wonderful films. I hope you enjoyed all three very different films. I really think that the bottom line, it's funny, I was thinking about a connection between the film, and for me the connection is chutzpah. There's chutzpah in all three of these films, and I think that really is something applaudable.
I'll take it as a compliment.
Thank you.
Thank you.